All right, what's up, world? This is Raul with LiveLOUD. So as you guys have been knowing that I've been putting out these interviews and having people come on from around the world and just sharing their story, how they got to what they're doing, how they're doing it, the things that they're creating in their life, and where does it come from. It's been so amazing that I can connect with people that from all talks of life, just all over the world, and that they're all doing something so fantastic. And now we have the opportunity to go and hear their story on a deeper level. And so today I actually have Adam, who is one of my dearest brothers, closest friends. Man, this guy has been such a pivoting time in my life and has created one of the best experience, if not the best experience of my life. And this relationship itself has launched me on so many levels. So bro, I'm so excited to be featuring you here. So this is Adam Newman. I'll let him introduce himself about what he's up to and what he does. And go ahead, man, take it from there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Raul, man. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today and connecting. It's amazing technology can still facilitate us to have these beautiful relationships together, you know, independent of our location. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, as you said, my name's Adam Newman. I'm originally from Divide, Colorado, small little mountain town, a couple hours outside the ski resorts. And I've been living the last 8 years here in Rio de Janeiro. I apologize if there's a lot of background noise. I'm here right now in the Favela, which is basically a slum community here in Rio de Janeiro where I live. And there's a lot of kids and noise going on outside, but that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah, I've been running an amazing organization for the last couple of years, and I look forward to telling you more about it, diving in and sharing and connecting. And it's just my pleasure to be able to share this space with you. So let's get into it.
Yeah, man. So we met 3 years ago now. As I've been traveling the world, every time I would go into a new country, I want to go and make an impact and work with the people there who are creating some magic. And I was on my way to Argentina, and I wanted to stop into Brazil because it's been high on my list of places to actually go and explore. But I wanted to go really in with the people, and I wanted to go just see how deep my level of connection and relationship can be with there. And luckily, Troy, who I was connected with through some other source, was down there. And he's like, all right, cool, man, you got to connect with this guy, Adam. Not only will you get to come here and experience the life in Brazil, but that you guys are doing something crazy. And yeah, man, I went down there for a week and a half, and a month and a half later, I was living there.
Yeah, it happens to everybody, man.
Yeah, and yeah, you declared it too, man. As soon as I was down there, it's like, my mission is to get you living over here. And a month and a half later, that was it. So tell us more about the organizations that you've been running and leading over there.
Yeah, so over the last course of 8 years here in Brazil, I've started a number of organizations. I think I've created something around 7 different businesses and nonprofits over the time that I've been here. So it's been quite the roller coaster ride of an experience, as you can imagine. Leaving your country and embarking on a journey where you don't know anyone and you don't speak the language, and then trying to develop professionally at the same time has a lot of really unique challenges in it. But really initially when I got to Rio, you know, everybody here told me, look, it's not that dangerous of a city, but there's just one thing that everybody knows, and that is don't go to the favelas, don't go to the slum communities, and you'll be fine. And so people kept saying that, and I would ask them, okay, well, so you must have some experience. Tell me about what's happened to you, or, you know, were you robbed there, or what negative experience did you have, you know, to tell me that. And I realized that all these people that had such strong opinions didn't actually have any experience in these communities. And so they were really just conditioned through the information they had received indirectly through the media, through their parents, through, you know, the typical sources around us that tend to influence our opinions. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to find out for myself about these communities. So my second week here, I didn't speak the language, I didn't know anybody. And within my blissful ignorance, I walked up the steep stairway into the favela community to discover for myself what was going on there. And what I found was an incredible place filled with a lot of misunderstood people that were living under the circumstances of 500 years of institutional racism and stereotypes that have been portrayed and facilitated through media, through government, and these other sources. And they were so welcoming and so warm. And of course, you saw the negative things too, the police and the armed drug traffickers and these elements, that people warn you about. But that's not what stuck out to me. What stuck out to me was these amazing, beautiful people that lived there, and how intelligent they were in their own way, how loving they were in their own way, and how they just took me in, this foreigner who could not even communicate with them. They took me in and just embraced me, totally. So I tell that story because it really set off the beginning of what I do today. I've been living in the favela community called Vidigal for the last 5 years now. And since then, I've created 2 major organizations that I'm operating today. So one of those is Favela Experience, which is a social impact tourism company. We create immersive cultural learning experiences that connect people from all over the world. We've received over 7,000 people from 45 different countries. We brought them to more than 10 different favelas. And we connect either directly with consumers through our website. So somebody can go online, find a really cool, unique experience in the favela, book it, and know that they're going to get a safe, sustainable, high-quality, immersive experience with local guides. We also work with universities and nonprofit organizations, facilitating them to come to the community and have an immersive experience as well. So that's Favela Experience. After 5 years of running that organization and a lot of challenges, a lot of success, a lot of failures, way more failures than success, which is great, I decided to create a second organization, which is called Favela Inc. And Favela Inc. is a nonprofit. It's a social impact incubator and a hub of social innovation. So what that means is we have a physical space, essentially a co-working space, where entrepreneurs and nonprofits and locals from the community who are looking to push forward positive thinking ideas and find solutions to problems in their community have a common place to connect, to learn, and to grow their organizations in ways that they couldn't in other environments. So we also run these incubation programs accompanying different projects that we select over a 1 year period, teaching them business management, financial education, digital marketing, and personal development skills to help them grow and create long-term sustainable organizations. And then finally, we have different educational programming as well. My favorite is this class we call Consciousness Expansion, which is for kids in the community, where we're teaching meditation, emotional intelligence, things like that to help them find their inner peace in a place which can sometimes have a lot of darkness and chaos. So these are the 2 organizations. It's really all about how can we build an ecosystem of impact? How can we channel the best that the world has to offer into this place and create mutually beneficial relationships in the process? So Favela Experience and Favela Inc., those are 2 of the organizations that I've created in this specific location, but I also do work with the indigenous tribes in film production, content development, and spiritual consciousness expansion through another organization that I've created called Humano. And then we also do commercialization of plant medicines and workshops and experiences to the indigenous tribes through my other company called Floresta. So these are the 4 organizations that we've created, but they're ultimately all focused on the same thing. How can we connect amazing communities, typically low-income communities, with the world by creating channels of abundance?
Yeah, man. I gotta say, just being the first testament of being on the ground with you and just to work with the community, to be able to tell their story. And it's been awesome because one of the things that I experienced being there, working with you and the team, is that not even just only observe, but I got to receive so much from being there, right? So we're talking about expansion in your business, in your consciousness, in your spirituality, in your health, in your mindset, your relationship to community, your relationship to your dreams and ambitions. And it's been so amazing to see the participants of Favela Inc. to develop structurally, get more confidence in them as a platform, as a business, and just to be able to expand their resources, their mindset, their strengths, their abilities, so that way they could take that information and go and impact other people. Every person that I know that crosses your path, you always hold a high bar, not of an expectation, but just holding us to our greatness of what could be. And you yourself practice it all the time, every day, man. In the background or right up front, leading in the room. So where does that stuff come from, man? Why is it that you choose to be this kind of pillar of awakening for other people?
Yeah, well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. You know, I think all of this really comes from this firm belief that I have, which is that professional and personal are not separate. And I think we see this a lot in corporate America, that, you know, your personal stuff, leave it at home. I don't want to know about it, right? We're here to work, and we're here to make money. And we're here to fulfill the company's mission. And if you got problems at home, those are your problems at home. This is work. And I just fundamentally disagree with that way of looking at things completely. We're all human beings, and within each human being is a universe of emotions and thoughts and memories and experiences and trauma and all these things that build our character and either facilitate us to do good in certain things or not to do good in other things, right? And so the more that we have a fundamental understanding of each other's personal story and personality and challenges and in aspirations and dreams, and the more that we can align that with the professional environment and the job that you're executing, the more that performance goes up, and the more that engagement and overall happiness increases as well. And I really like to look at business as a living organism, right? Everything is a reflection of everything else. And so in the way that you and me are two human beings, if we create a business, that business has now become one entity. And if some of the cells of that entity are sick, then that entity can't work, it can't function. And so our job, and what I see my job is as a leader, is how can I make sure that all the organs and all the cells are functioning at their highest potential, and that they get access to the medicines that they need when they're not feeling well, right? And so I think that requires us to have a lot of empathy and a lot of patience in order to work with other human beings. But, you know, I think all of that is really born from the sense that I never really allowed myself to get into the corporate business world. When I was in university at Arizona State studying entrepreneurship and business management, we were taught a lot about you know, human resource management and team building and things like that. And I use almost none of that today. And simultaneously, while I was studying in business school, I also was the president of my fraternity. And during that experience running my fraternity, I had to manage over 120 different individuals who were going to school and partying and, you know, trying to live out their different lives. So I realized at a very young age that it's the importance of treating people with human and treating people as humans and leading with kind of a human-centered design mentality. And I think the world's going there over time, but really it's just all about compassion. And, you know, I really see my mission in life to look at how can I leverage relationships and leadership by example to facilitate humans, you know, to find their inner peace, to fulfill their fullest potential, to contribute positively to our environment, to our society, to our economy, to our collective coexistence spiritually, you know, and I think we have to do that and execute that through our work.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, man. That's really right on. I think being able to pull in that consciousness and not separating it, but just really identifying our position and how we choose to show up in our businesses, in our relationships, in our family, in our own health, in our self-care. So can you 100%. Share what was that like when you first came over there? What was that day like that you went to Brazil?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. I mean, most people would look at what I did and say, you're out of your mind. And I would agree. Yeah, so I was in my junior year of college. I decided to study abroad. During high school, I did a 1-month-long immersion experience in Mexico. It was the first time that I lived by myself in a different country where I didn't know anybody and I didn't speak the language. And that experience was so formative in terms of teaching me about who I am and what I'm capable of, and removing some of the self-limiting things that we say to ourselves. And so through that process, I said, you know what, I want to do this again, but you know, at a higher level, a more academic element to it. So my junior year, I moved to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, and I had a 3-month full immersion experience there, studying Spanish, living with an Argentine family. And then I went and had 4 months of that in Lima, Peru as well. So through that experience, I fell in love with South America and the Latin American culture and just the warmth and the love and the connection, the energy. It's just so amazing. And when I got back to the US, I felt like a foreigner in my own country. I was like, who are these people? You know, I just felt this kind of like this feeling of being like, I'm not from here. And around this same time, as I was getting close to graduation, all these little signs started showing up. You know, every time I'd go to the Starbucks to study, there'd be Brazilian music playing. Or when I walked around on campus, I saw capoeira, you know, the Brazilian martial art and dance. I'd never seen that happening before. I was invited randomly by some lady to go to the Brazil festival where we learned samba dancing. And then I ended up taking a short 1-month course in Brazilian Portuguese. And so it seemed clear to me that like Brazil was calling me. And everything inside me, you know, and everything around me was saying, finish your education, go to a career fair, put on your nicest suit, go get a job, make $50,000 a year, work for the next 3 to 4 years, get a raise, you know, get a car, get a house, you know, make a family, and you know, like what we're taught to do in the United States as the traditional path to the American dream. Mm-hmm. And everything inside me was going, no, don't do that. Like you have an opportunity to do anything and to risk it all. And you are a privileged person based on just who you are, being a white male born in the United States, independent of how much money you have. And so I said, what's the worst case scenario if I jump off this cliff and this craziness? What's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario was I got to call my mom crying and say, Mom, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm broke. Can I come back and live on the couch? Right? Like that's a pretty damn good worst case scenario. Yeah. So it was that faith in that the worst case scenario wasn't that bad, and that the relative return on investment of the experience itself and the potential of taking that risk was so much higher that it was kind of a no-brainer for me. So I sold all my stuff. I got together about $2,000, and with $40,000 in student debt hanging out there in the corner, and I bought a one-way ticket to Rio de Janeiro. And I said, I'm moving to Brazil. I'm going to create an organization. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to work. Failure is not an option. I'm not coming back until I do that. And the key is aligning my strengths and my interests with purpose. And that's all I really know. And I love travel. I love Latin America. I love culture. I love connecting with people. So I said, I got to create something that works with all these elements.
Oh man, that's so amazing. That's so good. Really connecting and aligning that. I know a lot of people that they have an idea that they want to do something, but they're not quite sure what it is. So therefore they don't do anything. Or they want to do something, but there's all these obstacles that aren't figured out. And because it's not figured out, people don't actually take the steps to go and create that. And this is such an awesome example of like, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't speak the language. I have a lot of barriers in front of me, but my worst case scenario is something that's not as bad that I could actually live with. And I'm aligned with my purpose. I'm aligned with what I really truly believe that I get to create. And that was enough to just latch onto and take the lead.
Totally. Yeah. I think there's one thing that makes it so challenging for a lot of people to be able to see that clearly. And that's a lack of space and a lack of time to actually get to know themselves, right? Society is always demanding so much of us. And it's like, as soon as you're out of high school, hop into college. As soon as you're in college, hop into business. And you have almost no time or space within that process to just sit back and say, wait a minute, what am I doing? Who am I? What do I like doing? What elements of my life, what elements of my thoughts come actually from me, from the deepest part of who I am, and not what mom and dad are telling me I should do, not the pressure that I feel from society because of what's been marketed to me as the right way to be. And so when you get that opportunity to have that time and space, it's a time to play. It's a time to just do crazy shit. Go paint, do some art, listen to different types of music you've never listened to, travel somewhere you've never been, just play around, like whatever comes to you, go for it and feel it, and pay attention to the small signs. You know, that's another major lesson that I've gotten, is that the universe is providing us with these micro signs of what you should do, and what's truly in alignment with your inner being. And it's whether or not you're creating the time and space to listen. And if you do that, and you pay attention, and you follow those signs, and with courage and without expectation, and letting go of what the end result might be, then everything else just takes care of itself.
That is so good, man. I have a big grin on my face because I just love that idea of spend time with yourself, right? So can you quickly tell us, last time I spoke to you, you were talking about having your life plan.
Yeah, so I call it Adam's life model. And essentially, it's just like when you create a business plan, right? So it starts off with a purpose, right? Yeah, you know, some people might have seen the YouTube video, Start With Why. And it really comes down to, that's how you got to start everything you do. Every business you do, every decision you make in your life, you have to start with the why. Otherwise, why are you doing it, right? So in my case, I decided that my reason for being was to spread light, consciousness, and love. That's it. Very simple. That is the reason for my existence. That's what I've come to understand. And maybe you change that. Maybe you think it's one thing, and along the way you realize it's not. And business plans change, right? And then you shift into mission, world vision, life vision. So these different areas that we see in a normal business plan, values. So once you've created this basic identity where you know, strengths, weaknesses, there's a section called life metrics. So what are the ways that you use to measure success in your life? So some of my life metrics are time spent with family, or quantity of best friends acquired per year, time spent in nature. And you can also have more like specific business-like metrics as well, which is how much money did I make this month, right? So you lay out some metrics that for you are indicators of life success. And life success is defined by quality of life, happiness. What is the overall happiness that you feel, and where does that come from, and how can you break that down? So once you have that initial basic identity set up, then I have a section that I call the categories of existence. And within the categories of existence, I create subcategories for all the different elements of my life: health, finance, relationships, business, intellectual expansion, etc. And within each of those areas, you can create additional categories. So within health, you have nutrition, fitness, meditation, right? So you create these different categories that basically lay out the blueprint of your life. And within each of those, you can essentially try to define what are the core goals, or what are the core areas that you would like to develop. So if it's meditation, maybe you can even put there some links to some great meditation materials. Eventually, the idea is that you have a guiding document that centralizes all of the core information, goals, knowledge, and resources that you think you may need, or that help provide you guidance for who you are. Because sometimes we get lost along the way. Sometimes before we know it, we're doing something that we didn't even plan on. And it's like, wait, hold on. So what I try to do is every Sunday, usually in the afternoon when I'm planning out my week, I sit down with my life plan and I say, okay, how's the model going? You know, let's look at the metrics. Always having that central place you can go back to that keeps you on track, that you're updating on a regular basis, is essential in order to make sure that you're achieving alignment. So it's one tool that I found that really just helps me stay focused.
That's so good, man. That's so good. So one last thing, right now that people are redefining, I believe they're still in transition on what do we do now? People have that time with themselves and their own thoughts and their own mind, and not knowing what to do with their energy. What would you suggest people that they could be doing right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I think the number one excuse that people give for not doing anything is, I don't have time. That's the number one thing you hear people say. Why didn't you do this? Didn't have time. Why didn't you read a book? Didn't have time, right? That's the number one excuse. I stopped saying that a long time ago, because I realized that we have all the time we need to do whatever we want. It's just about choices. So it's not that you don't have time, it's that you've chosen to use your time elsewhere. So just be clear that so that you hold responsibility for the way that you conduct yourself and how you choose to allocate your time in your life. It's not like the world's against you and didn't give you enough time for you to do what you wanted to do. You just choose to work 12 hours a day, and that's okay, but that's your choice, right? So I think in this moment, with all the challenges and the difficulties and the hardships, which are super real, there's a gift behind it all too, which is the gift of time. So what are you gonna do with that time? I think the number one thing is take time to stop doing what you've always done and start doing what you've never done. Because this may be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And you have this much time and freedom at your fingertips to do what you want to do. So take the time to figure out who you are, what you like to do, explore themes and ideas and experiences that you've never explored before digitally. And give yourself the time and the space to align with your inner essence. And then go through your life model, create your life model, figure out, what does my ideal life look like? And how do I need to adjust the utilization of my time in order to achieve that ideal version of my life? And then start doing that right now. And what you might notice is when all of this is over and you come out of your cocoon and you go back to your past life, you might say, man, I didn't want to be doing any of that. My life is going to be different now. I'm going to go on a different path. And you can come out of that cocoon like a butterfly and blossom really into your full essence. And I think that's the best way that you can use this time right now.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree. I think right now, there's nothing wrong with a corporate life. There's nothing wrong with whatever path you choose to pursue, but is it in alignment with your truth? Or did it come from a belief that you were told you were supposed to believe this? Did you tell that this is the life that you're supposed to live? Or these are the parameters of reality that you're allowed to operate in? And right now, if we spend time with ourselves, if we spend time with those different categories, like your life plan, and really dissect, what is my joy? What is my success? How do I measure that? Did I learn that from somewhere, or is that coming from somewhere within? And if it's aligned with what's coming within, it's time to start exercising it, whatever that might be, whatever that looks like. But know that anything you're doing is because you're choosing that's your greatest opportunity. That's the greatest version of yourself that you want to live. Hey, so can you do some plugs of how people could follow you, how people could go and volunteer and move to Brazil and work there, and how do people keep in touch with and keep up to date with your projects and everything you got going, man? For
sure. Well, there's 4 different websites. So, but you can find me personally on Instagram. It's The Networking Newman. And then to follow around my organizations, it's just on Instagram or Facebook. Look up Favela Inc, Favela Experience, Humano, Humano, or Floresta. So those 4 organizations, you can follow along and see the different work that I'm doing here in the favelas and in the indigenous communities in Brazil. And for any of you guys out there that are interested in taking a leap, coming to South America, diving into Brazil, even if it's just coming for a quick trip, I'm more than happy to connect. Through Favela Inc, we have our own staff facility where we receive work exchange volunteers from all over the world. And you can come and exchange your knowledge and your experience for a place to stay and a hell of a life, cultural immersion experience that I guarantee will be life-changing. If you don't believe me, well, just ask Raul.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Best time in my life, favorite place to live. I just, every year, I gotta get a dose of Brazil, man. So thank you so much for your time, for your greatness, man. It's always such a pleasure just to connect with you. I always feel so inspired. I'm like, damn, man, I need to launch another business or something. So thanks again, man. Thank you for signing on and sharing your story with Say It Loud. It really means a lot, and hope everyone at home or people watching this that take this opportunity to really self-evaluate, check in where you're distributing your energy, have that courage to take that leap, because Adam's a clear testament that you can fulfill your dreams by just chasing it and just seeing what happens. Let's see what could we find there. Stay tuned for more greatness to come. Adam, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, brother. It's been an honor to be here with you today.
All right, guys. So for everyone listening, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and much love.